Welcome to Gortnaclea in County Laois, nestled in a beautiful rural landscape between the villages of Ballacalla and Shanaho. I'm in the ancient and historic parish of Ahabo, right here beside the River Gully, a tributary of the River Nore. The Gully Bridge here at Gortnaclea connects the parish of Raheen in the Diocese of Kildare and Leighlin to the parish of Ahabo in the Diocese of Ossory. Dominating the landscape here is Gortnaclea Castle, a tower house built by the Normans around the 1500s. First though, I'm going to tell you about the townland of Gortnaclea and the origin of its name. Gortnaclea refers to the Field of the Stakes, a name that dates back over 1,000 years to 1014, when a battle took place here between the Dalcassians and Prince Fitzpatrick's local troops. The Dalcassians were a Gaelic Irish clan that became very powerful during the 10th century. The clan had built a power base on the banks of the River Shannon, and Brian Boru's brother Mahon became their first king of Munster. Brian Boru is the best known king from the dynasty, as he became High King of Ireland before dying famously in 1014 at the Battle of Clontarf. On the return of Brian Boru's army to Munster after the Battle of Clontarf, their journey was interrupted here at Gortnaclea by the hostile Prince Fitzpatrick and his troops. The wounded men of Brian Boru's army, who were being carried back home from Clontarf to Munster, pleaded to be allowed to fight here with the rest of the army against the Fitzpatrick troops. "Let stakes be stuck in the ground and suffer each of us, tied to and supported by one of these stakes, to be placed in his rank by the side of a sound man." The famous 19th century Irish bard Thomas Moore, in one of his Irish melodies, commemorated the memory of Brian Boru in a war song entitled "Remember the Glories of Brian the Brave." The last verse of that war song is specifically about how the wounded soldiers fought here alongside Brian Boru's army. "Forget not our wounded companions who stood in the day of distress by our side. While the moss of the valley grew red with their blood, they stirred not, but conquered and died. That sun which now blesses our arms with his light saw them fall upon Ossory's plain. Oh, let him not blush when he leaves us tonight, to find that they fell there in vain." A footnote to this war song says that between 700 and 800 wounded men, pale, emaciated and supported in this manner, appeared mixed with the foremost of the troops. Never was such another sight exhibited. And so, this quiet rural spot entered the annals of Irish history by the events of 1014, and in the process it gained the name Gortnaclea, the Field of the Stakes. It was not until almost 500 years or so later that the tower house known as Gortnaclea Castle was built. Between the early 15th and 17th centuries, many tower houses were built in Ireland, and it's believed that over 2,000 still remain on the landscape. They were built by both the Anglo-Irish and Gaelic Irish, with some constructed by English and Scottish immigrants during successive conquests of Ireland. Many tower houses were built within sight of each other, and a system of visual communication is said to have been established between them based on the line of sight from the top levels. Tower houses were used for both defensive and residential reasons, with many lordly dynasties building them in order to assert status and to provide a residence for the senior lineage of the family. This tower house, known as Gortnaclea Castle, is a protected structure in the record of protected structures, as is the nearby private residence, Gortnaclea House. In the archaeological inventory of County Laois, Gortnaclea Castle is described as a 5-storey high tower house, dimensions circa 11.8 metres east to west and circa 9.8 metres north to south, with base batter built of randomly coursed rubble and large limestone quoins. Gortnaclea Castle was first recorded as a residence of the MacGillivray or Fitzpatricks in 1566, when Donald MacGillivray was its occupant. The castle achieved widespread notoriety in April 1600 during an event which occurred during the 9 Years' War, which took place between 1593 and 1603 against English rule in Ireland. The plantation of Laois and Offaly had taken place in 1556, and the counties were now referred to as Queen's County and King County. By 1600, apart from Portlaoise, which was then known as Maryborough, the county of Laois, known as Queen's County, fastened its cause with the O'Moores under the leadership of Oni MacRory O'Moore. In May 1599, Oni's men had ambushed the Earl of Essex between Ballyroan and Stradbally and what became known as the Pass of the Plumes because of the brightly coloured feathers on the helmets of the English forces. By 1600, the Earl of Ormond, Thomas Butler, who lived in Kilkenny, entered into parley with Oni MacRory O'Moore with a view to bringing peace to the region. He was known as the Black Earl of Ormond due to his complexion, and he was a personal friend of Queen Elizabeth I, the serving monarch at that time. A meeting to discuss the terms of a truce was arranged for the 10th of April 1600 at Ballyragget in County Kilkenny. Unbeknownst to Butler, Oni had prepared an ambush with the intention of capturing the Earl. A skirmish took place and the Earl was captured unscathed. O'Moore brought his capture to Gortnaclea Castle, which was then a stronghold of the Fitzpatricks or MacGillipatricks, who were sworn enemies of the Butlers. The capture of the Earl of Ormond sent shockwaves through the English establishment at that time. Kilkenny was reinforced with thousands of soldiers as unrest was feared in the region. 4 days after his capture, the Earl of Ormond sent a letter from Gortnaclea urging the English not to attempt his rescue, as it would lead to his certain death. Correspondence between the English army based in Ireland and the Crown flashed across the Irish Sea. Even the Queen took a personal interest in the situation. A few weeks later, the captured Earl was moved from Gortnaclea to O'Dempsey's castle at Ballybrittis. On the 12th of June 1600, the Earl was released from capture with a ransom of £3,000 paid by the English to Oni MacRory O'Moore, a huge sum of money at that time. Gortnaclea, therefore, is an important place in the history of County Laois for events that occurred hundreds of years apart. Until the next time, from the beautiful landscape of Gortnaclea, Slán.